Okay. Cool. So let's get it. Rock on. Here we go. Welcome to Mindful Minutes with Musicians, the show where we aspire to inspire. Musicians and artists talking about mindfulness and what brings us through our practice to achieve greater goals. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. Today's guest is Risa Branch, originally from Dallas, Texas, now based out of New York City. Her smooth, soothing, melodic voice, jazz voice, has been compared to icons like Billie Holiday and Nina Simone. She's been inspiring me since we met in Vancouver, and yeah, it's been a few years, I guess, since we met there, and yeah, she's originally released her title track, "I Thought About You," on YouTube, and the whole album is not to be missed. She's been featured on Tenderly magazine, Black Vegans Rock, and Vegans Whedon in Germany. You can find out more information about her and buy her album from Tidal, Bandcamp, Deezer, iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify. You can find her on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and on her website, www.risabranch.com. And now she's here with us today. A huge welcome to the lovely Risa Branch. Thank you for joining us. Like a round of applause. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing? How have you been lately?
I've actually been pretty good. I consider myself kind of a mix of introvert and extrovert. And so I've definitely in the last few months been really cultivating that introvert side and
Totally.
Having a lot of fun, just like being with myself and like learning my own rhythms and deciding what I want to do on the spur of the moment. Do I want to read today, or I want to listen to music, or want to learn a song or write a song or watch a movie? Like, it's just been really a creative and also like an incubative period, I think.
That's cool. That's super cool. Yeah, I find it's been up and down. Like, it's been a roller coaster of some days I'm like losing my mind, and other days I'm like super happy that I've got this time and that everything's kind of been forced to slow down. So that's
it's an unprecedented time in all of our lives that we have this massive space to do whatever we like. A lot of people anyway, not all of us, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. So I'm gonna I guess the whole thing tying into how you're doing, you're in New York City right now. How has that been? And like how, like, I know I imagine mentally it's kind of there's a difficult space to be in. Like, it's kind of the epicenter, if you will. But
well, it was the epicenter. It's actually not the epicenter anymore. There's some other places in the country, also the rest of the world that are growing, and the infections have really increased in those areas, whereas ours have gone down, and hopefully will stay down.
Yeah.
Actually, somebody is calling me. I don't know if that's affecting your video or not. But
I think I lost you on video, but
yeah, okay. I'm sorry about that. I should.
That's okay. No worries.
Okay. I forgot to put it on do. I hope nobody else calls me, but
you're a popular person. What can you say?
We were talking about the infections. Yeah, in New York, there was a couple months where it was very hairy living here because there's a lot of people and there's tiny, cramped spaces, a lot of places, on the train, on the bus, on the sidewalk sometimes, depending on where you are.
Oh yeah.
And it took off very fast, the virus. A lot of people caught it really quickly. Actually, by the time they really closed down everything, quite a lot of people had already had it, or they had just caught it and, realized in those first couple of weeks of quarantine that they were
Mm-hmm.
infected. I know several people who they got it in the middle of March, which is right around the time where things were starting to close down.
Yeah.
Luckily, I been managing to keep myself safe. I'm kind of extra cautious, I guess, with the mask. And even I was wearing goggles to the grocery store for a little while.
Yeah.
I've relaxed on that a bit. But
Yeah.
really, it was a time to just stay in my house.
Yeah.
I've relaxed those rules a bit now. I'm going out a little outside to events outside.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't feel quite so cramped, quite so
Yeah.
locked down. But
Yeah.
yeah, for a while I was being very vigilant about the staying indoors, which was also, in a little way free. If I'm gonna be at home and I have all this time, I know I'm not gonna be interrupted. What do I want to do with
Right.
it?
Make the most of it, type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Um, that's cool. Yeah. It's been quite a crazy process, and just being able to uh get outside, like it's funny how the little things become so big, you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
it's
interacting with people and like seeing the outdoors and yeah,
yeah,
walking and breathing fresh air, Yeah.
right, yeah. I know that you've been featured in vegan publications. How, like, tell me more about like being vegan and how that's affected your like mindfulness or daily routines, or like because I'm vegetarian, so like I know that, you know what I mean, like it's made me think about diet and made me think about how to make food, and you know what I mean, a lot of that. So yeah, like yeah, how is
Well,
that?
I went vegan pretty early in life. I was a teenager still. So I really consider all of my adulthood, I was already vegan. So I don't really know much else. I don't really know
Hmm.
the alternative.
Yeah.
Um, but I do know it makes you more aware of what you're consuming, also your relationship with the environment, with other creatures, other species. Um,
For sure.
it definitely makes you more cognizant of where you're going, especially if you need to eat around that time.
Oh yeah.
Also, where you're playing, and what they have to offer you. But
Hmm.
it's so part of me and so part of my life now. It's hard for me to almost like separate like what I've learned from being vegan, because that's my life, my
Yeah.
lifestyle. Yeah.
Do you find it hard to find vegan places in New York,
It's
or?
not hard to find vegan places, but although the places you play at may or may not have a whole lot of selections that you
Hmm.
want to eat. You always hope that they will add more to their menu.
You like you're playing some nice jazz at a steakhouse, and they're yeah. That's
Well,
funny.
it's just music is music and veganism is veganism. They don't always interact or relate to each
For
other very
sure.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
There's always something to eat. There's always something to find as well.
Yeah.
I remember there was one pizza place that I used to sing at on a regular basis, and they didn't have vegan cheese on the menu, but I would bring my cheese and ask them to make me a vegan pizza, and it was
Yeah.
always really delicious. So,
Amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
There's always ways, right? There's
yeah.
always ways. That's
You
awesome.
can find something on the menu as well, right? Even if it's salad or pasta or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I find like just being on the road, a lot of the time you're figuring out like what you're able to eat, and what the that's the first question, is like, oh, okay, is there meat in this, or is there, you know what I mean, like that's the at least that's my experience, you know what I mean.
It's getting
Well
easier and easier, though. I feel like the options have really expanded and really grown, and they can continue to grow. And you could almost say that, the plant-based lifestyle is mainstream now, or coming
yeah,
there.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people are more cognizant of that as a mainstream diet, and I think everyone wants to eat more organic and that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. Um, so I'm gonna like lead into the music industry and live events has been kind of like I non-existent, kind of like, or just online, not
Mhm.
non-existent, but like it's kind of
Yeah.
everything's moved online and everything. How have you stayed like motivated? And you were saying earlier like the ability to be home has kind of led to creativity and stuff. How have you stayed motivated, like even within the house? And
Well, kind of, when I realized, oh, you have this real glut of time, like, what do I want to do with it? Well, my first inclination was I want to learn more jazz songs. I want to like really expand my
yeah.
repertoire. And I started to do that, but then actually I was kind of led in other directions. I wanted to start doing virtual shows, so I kind of lined up everything that I would need to do live streamed broadcasts,
Mhm.
and those have been really fun. And those have also
Awesome.
given me the opportunity to connect with the musicians that I know, and working on the songs that we're going to do for our episodes and stuff. So it's
Cool.
been really great. And then I've also kind of forced myself to learn new songs for some of those shows too. So it's a great way to force
Yeah.
myself to practice, because I know I'm going to have to perform this. So I have to
Hmm.
learn this song, and it makes myself practice. Whereas otherwise, I might not be as motivated to want to practice or learn
Yeah.
anything. Yeah. So
That's cool.
kind of focusing on that. Um, I would say that's mainly what I've been doing with music, trying to write a little bit as well. I'm
Hmm.
not going to be finished with an album by the time things start getting going again. And I know that there's going to be this glut of new music coming out anyway, so I won't have to get lost in the clutter with that.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
have gotten started writing on a new album as well.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool.
Mhm.
The artists that you're working with, are they local in New York or?
Well, it being virtual, I haven't actually restricted myself to the musicians that I know here in New York, and I have a few people that I'm playing with who are not around, because
Amazing.
the way that I'm doing the show, split screen sessions. Unfortunately, we can't do a live stream show with two people remotely because of the lag. So I have the
Yeah.
accompaniment record the
Okay.
songs, and then I sing live on the online
Right.
with their recording. So we have one
Okay.
part that's pre-recorded and one part that's live. So you have both elements happening.
Okay.
And I have had collaborators who don't live in New York. I have an episode coming up with my friend Alex Webb, who's in London.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Nice.
I actually really enjoy doing the shows. I feel like I could see myself continuing to do the shows even after things have gotten going again.
Yeah. That's kind of the nice thing about this all is that we're all finding these new ways to connect. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's super cool. That's super cool,
Mhm.
especially like this overseas connection, and you know what I mean. And it's so it's not like before that would have never even been thought of, and now it's like, yeah, it makes sense to kind of like bring these people together, and you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
do that. Like,
Yes.
yeah, that's cool.
Totally.
That's cool. What do you think what kind of tips, tricks, or techniques? What would you say that the best thing for you, like that you use to put yourself in like a calm state of mind? I know like as a musician, like not everyone, but I know before you start playing or stuff like that, there's the nerves and all the rest of that. Like, is there anything that you do that kind of calms you or anything like that? Yeah.
Well, when I sing, I'm generally pretty nervous. I don't know that I've really totally mastered calmness, but I do try to connect with an intention to really relate the song to the audience, to embody the song. to like have a moment where I'm like, you know, I can move the emotions and the music through my voice in a
Yeah.
way that connects with people. So if I can focus on what I'm trying to do, what my intention is,
Mm-hmm.
then that takes more focus away from the nerves or or
Like
the self-consciousness or whatever.
like the message that is coming out of it type thing.
Yeah, focus on that. Focus on
Yeah.
what I'd like to relay. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. That's super cool. It's like it's kind of like getting all the noise out type thing, like getting all the extra noise and just focusing on the song itself type thing.
Yeah,
In a
focusing
way.
on the song, the emotions of the song, what I want to do with the song creatively. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, mindfulness in terms of what you're doing. And what I'm doing is singing a song. So really focusing on that rather than everything else that's happening in my brain or what's happening in the, in my life,
Yeah,
but focusing on what I'm doing.
that's cool. Um, Being from Dallas originally, and then moving to Vancouver where we met. And now
There was a
you're
lot of places in between there.
yeah.
There. Yeah, yeah. I kind of traveled a bit, yeah.
Um, and then now you're in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
What have this like travel and like what have these places kind of like brought or taught you or not taught you about life or mindfulness, or you know what I mean? Like, so I imagine each place has a very different like lesson that it brings, you know?
I feel like the places that I've been led to almost, yeah, I could say that I've learned specific things from those places.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas is where my roots are, where my family is still, and where I'm from. And although I have some issues with Texas, I did like really get a lot of the soul that comes through my voice and the blues from
Mm-hmm.
that southern, background, the
Mm-hmm.
roots in the church and gospel. It's kind of where I got a lot of my start musically. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually came here immediately from there and went to college or I went to grad school actually here. And it was a few other places that I went after. And sorry, let me think how I want to say. In Boulder, Colorado, when I was there, was kind of the first time I started singing solo, like without a choir. And
Okay.
um, I was working actually with a partner at the time. We were writing
Mm-hmm.
songs and rehearsing all the time. And I really do feel like that time in my life was just kind of developing myself as a solo artist, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then when I went to Vancouver after that, that's when I was working with OB and really got started songwriting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Vancouver has such a welcoming and such a nurturing bubble around indie artists, around
Yeah.
independent music. And it was just a really great place for me to be at that time, writing songs that and writing original songs and playing them for usually other artists. We had like a
Yeah.
nice little crew of lots of musicians and various artists. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and Vancouver was, yeah, a really nurturing place for that. It's also one of the most beautiful places I ever lived. So
Yeah.
it's nurturing
That
not just for the arts, but for yourself, right? For
for the
your
soul. Yeah.
soul.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Um, I came back up here a few years ago, and I feel like I'm still feeling out the sea, but
Mm-hmm.
obviously there's a whole depth and history of jazz here that is not in any of the other places that I've lived.
For
So I'm kind
sure.
of really, getting that, taking that on, learning the scene, learning the people in the scene, learning the songs that are sung. One thing I've noticed too in the various jazz scenes that I've gone to, they have different canons. They have different songs that people sing on a regular basis in London, in Berlin, in New York. They're not all the same songs that people know. So it's like, when you go to a different city, you want to figure out what are the songs that the musicians play on a regular basis.
What's the local? Yeah.
That they won't have a blank face if you call it. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah. It sounds like it's like you're finding your spots in New York, which is kind of neat.
I would say that I am. And luckily I started that before the quarantine, because I don't even know what the scene is going to look like when we're coming back, or if all of the venues that were there are still going to be there. But I met the people and I saw what that, those different spaces were like, and I've connected with a lot of those people. So hopefully even if the places shift or move to other places, I'll still be able to find those
connections were made. Yeah. That's super cool. Any like last, anything else you wanted to like kind of add or anything, or
with music, I feel like it's a channeling, and my spiritual practice is definitely related to Reiki and energy healing, because that's something that I was doing even before I was performing professionally. So I really consider music, especially singing, to be a form of channeling. And I feel like that spiritual connection that you have to the frequencies that are coming through is also nurturing, not only for the people that hear it, but for the people that are performing, people that do it. Definitely part of the reason that I love singing, but also like one of the motivations that I have to do it and to practice and to make myself do it is because I feel like there is like a necessity for the energies, for the frequencies to get out in the world.
Like working on the energies and working on the the output of that.
And I feel like it's good for everybody involved, the musicians as well as the audience.
For sure.
Kind of,
I think what like a big thing like that you're kind of that I'm getting is that like I know like energy, what you're putting out, you're gonna receive back, and that I guess if you work on these things, then you'll be able to kind of just make it better it or make it a more positive kind of experience for not only yourself but for everyone else. And I like it.
It's important for me like to not just focus on the musicality, but also like being shared and what's being even what's coming back from the audience. Because there's a whole synergy, right?
For sure.
Even online, I think there's a whole synergy that happens.
Well, I imagine like you're seeing people chatting in and responding as you're performing and stuff. So I imagine that still gives a bit of like connection between the audience and performer type thing.
I know it's been great for me in terms of not losing that that energy that you have when you're performing. Not a lot of people are like, oh, I do know several musicians who've been really bummed that they don't have that outlet to perform and to connect with people and having love and feedback coming back to them. But I don't feel like it's completely lost, and with the live streaming, I think that's still there.
That's awesome. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna jump into the exit now. I think this has been amazing. I want to thank you so much for joining me and like sharing, um, all these awesome things.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, David.
No worries. I'm gonna share my screen here. Share audio, and we are going to go into the outro. Thank you for tuning in to Mindful Minutes with Musicians. For more information about my guest and the topics of the show, go to www.davidblackmoremusic.wordpress.com and connect with us on all social media platforms. Welcome to the MMWM family, where we aspire to inspire. See you soon. Thank you again so much for joining me. This has been super awesome. Amazing.
I took a trip on a train and I thought about you. We passed a shadowy lane and I thought about you. 2 or 3 cars parked under the stars, a winding stream. The moon shining down on some little town, and with each beam the same old dream. At every stop that we made, I thought about you. And when I pulled down the shade, I really felt blue.